Hello, and welcome to the first episode of the Yap Reel, where we will be discussing various Best Picture films that we've seen. I'm your host, Josie Hallier.
And I'm your fellow host, Lanie Zajeka. Head to the KLC on Wednesday, February 26th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. for a panel discussion and soul food buffet in honor of Black History Month. The topic of the discussion will be Thrive for a Better Future, and those attending will hear from a panel of speakers.
All right, now to the main topic here. So, the films we've watched so far for Best Pictures in recent years, or just any years, have been Rain Man, Lawrence of Arabia, A Beautiful Mind, Rocky, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and Terms of Endearment. So, Lainey, which of those was your favorite?
I think so far my favorite has probably either been Rocky or Terms of Endearment.
Those are pretty good picks. I've enjoyed all of them actually, but Rain Man and Rocky were probably my top two, but they are all really good pictures, which I would assume is why they won Best Picture. So I think the films we've watched so far have deserved Best Picture because they're all really good.
I would say so, especially when you look at the other films that they were up against. It's definitely noticeable when one name stands out amongst all the other ones. So why was Rain Man one of your favorites? Because when I watched it, I thought it was a decent film, but I didn't enjoy it as much as I was hoping to.
That's fair. I think part of the reason why Rain Man is one of my favorite ones is because of the memory I have watching it. I watch it with my dad, and any movies I watch with my dad stick out to me. He really liked this film, and so he wanted me to see it. And I just, it's a great movie. It took me an embarrassingly long amount of time to realize that man was Tom Cruise. I'm not used to him looking so young. And then about, I don't know, with 30 minutes left of the movie, I go through the cast and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's Tom Cruise. So it made sense. I mean, I really like the score of this movie, and I think that Dustin Hoffman did a great job at portraying Raymond. But of course, there's always going to be those troubles you have when you have someone portraying someone with a disability that actor doesn't have. And this movie was made back in 1988. So, all the information we have about people with autism and all the sorts wasn't as accurate back then, I would say. But I think with what we were given, I think Dustin Hoffman did a great job with his portrayal.
Yeah, definitely. I think you have to consider the time period with movies like these. And I think for the time at which it came out, it was a decent portrayal for what was known at the time. And it definitely helped bring more light to the conversation. And it's funny that you say it took you so long to recognize Tom Cruise, because I was watching the whole movie and I was like, oh, it's Tom Cruise.
Scientologist. All right. And I think the same you could say with One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest for sure, because you have a bunch of these people portraying people with, mental illnesses. And, it's maybe not a movie that's aged the best, but, really what movie has that was made in the 70s? So, Lainey, tell me why Terms of Endearment was your favorite.
So Terms of Endearment was one of my favorites because it was just so pleasantly surprising. And I love when a movie makes me feel something. And Terms of Endearment, I felt like it tricked me in a way, because I was just laughing the whole time. I was like, oh, this is a really surprisingly absurdly funny movie. And then just out of nowhere, just Emma gets cancer and you're just sobbing.
Yeah, I would say that movie is pretty good. I think the only gripe I had with it was very jumpy at the beginning, which I understand. It's a movie, you can't have every single detail in it, but someone that likes to know everything that's going on, it just was a little jumpy for me.
I agree. I think that's definitely the risk that you take when you have a movie with that kind of timeline where it's jumping from period to period. But I felt like the opening was really good at setting up the relationship between Emma and Aurora, because it builds on this sort of not necessarily codependency, but definitely Aurora's attachment to Emma, because she's trying to climb in the crib, she's sleeping in bed with her even though Emma doesn't really want her to.
That's a great point. That's something that I don't think I really caught at the beginning of the movie. I was like, it started with this mother and the baby in the crib, and then it jumps to it oh, let's fix that hair and stuff. And I was like, it really kind of reminded me of the film Lady Bird. I don't know if you're familiar.
I love Lady Bird.
Directed by Greta Gerwig. It's just I think this movie did a really good job at portraying that mother-daughter relationship, which is such a complicated relationship, in my opinion. And an actor that has been in what, two of these films so far, Jack Nicholson. Can we talk about Jack Nicholson for a second?
Yeah.
What a one of a kind of actor.
I mean, I don't like him.
And that's fine, but I understand why people don't like him, especially like personal life wise. But his facial acting, he kind of like is on like the same level as like Jim Carrey for me, that they just have such control over their face that it's like terrifying to watch.
That's my issue though. He's so creepy looking. I just can't get over it.
That's fair. I understand.
I'm just like, this is like the sleaziest man I've ever seen.
And my gosh, he pulls that so well in terms of endearment. He is just disgusting. At least, in the beginning.
But at least with that character, we get like a character arc. We get growth.
Absolutely.
And I really enjoyed that, and I was rooting for his growth.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, no, like you have like a good thing going with Aurora. Don't do this. Don't end it.
I know. I was watching it with my boyfriend, and just anytime he would say something in those like first hour, we'd be like, is this game? Like, is he flirting? Because what an odd guy, Jack Nicholson and his character. A movie that I really wish I could have enjoyed more, but due to me having to watch it on a laptop, I couldn't enjoy it as much. Lawrence of Arabia. On such a small laptop, it's still a gorgeous movie, but all I could think about the whole movie was, man, I wish I saw this in theaters.
Yeah, I think that would be a great movie to see on the big screen, especially with, like you said, how beautiful it is. It really like took my breath away. It was such a visually stunning film. And there was this one shot in particular that I really loved where he blows out a match and it transitions to the sunset. Mm-hmm. I saw that scene and I was like, wow, I love that so much.
The scene specifically that I am thinking of is when Lawrence himself goes on to find the little boy that had gotten lost, and then you just see this horizon with nothing, and then you see this little black speck start coming and coming and coming closer. And I just thought that was so well done. And I was just like, this must have been great in theaters. And quickly, let's just give a compliment or critique to Rocky. I would like to compliment Talia Shire and her Adrian performance. She played such a crucial role. And I feel like that was really easy to miss because, she seems like such a small character, but then you watch it and like, as a woman especially, you're like, oh, she's his rock. Like she is there for him and plays such a big role in him being able to compete and do all these other things.
Definitely. And you also see growth from her character as well. Like I remember when we did our discussion post, somebody pointed out the progression of her body language. And that wasn't something that I initially thought about on my first watch through. So I thought about it and I was like, wow, they're so right. Like she did become more like open and definitely was much more of herself. She wasn't afraid to speak as much. And she was just less closed off.
Yeah, her growth was definitely something that stood out to me, and what a great movie. So upcoming films that we have, Coda and The Green Book, I think are our next two. Have you seen either?
I have not. I've been wanting to watch Coda for a really long time. I believe we also have Driving Miss Daisy coming up.
Oh yes, you're right. I haven't seen any of those. The only movie I've really heard about is The Green Book, and not in great ways. So I've heard that when that won Best Picture, it might have caused a ripple, and some people weren't, kind of like a crash in Brokeback Mountain. So we'll see. JCOM will be hosting the Home Run Derby on March 27th with the Honors Club, and we'll be giving out some special prizes. So be sure to keep an eye out for more information.
That wraps up this episode of the Yap Reel. Join us for our next episode where we will discuss even more films. See you then!